Welcome. So College Prep Roadmap, we are here live. My name is Doreen Moore, and we felt that this is the perfect time to reach out to parents and students during these uncertain times. So 28 years of being a high school counselor and 8 years as an independent college counselor. And I have two guests, Debbie, also been in education, collectively decades of experience. We have answered questions, phone calls, emails over the years, but right now, what we're going through is very unfamiliar, and I think parents and students feel the same way. So this is basically a gift to our community to touch on important things, try to stay present and not dwell on the things that are happening in a negative tone, because we all feel it, especially us when we're in the education space. We also have a guest who is a sophomore parent, which I will introduce in a little bit, where he has concerns about his son and how he can best support his son through the next 2 years. So again, the segment today will be providing you parents and students resources, identifying the fears, identifying what you're feeling, because we understand that, but looking at it as a way where we're going to incorporate, implement, maybe affirm some of the things you're already doing. So I think that's critical. Now, I will be talking more about the college component. And as I mentioned, Debbie Blashaw is a guest. She's an amazing teacher, counselor, advocate for students. She and I had an opportunity to work together for many years, and we've worked very well over the years, just collaborated well, have the same mission, and she is going to share with us her expertise in teaching students learning strategies. And we'll go a little bit more into detail when that piece comes up. But with our students all working remotely, it is a huge component. And then secondly is Tony Ward, who is a parent of a sophomore son. He is with us from Dallas. We are from California, and he and I were chatting, and he has some specific questions about how he can support his son in the next couple years. So it's pretty appropriate for what we're going through right now. So what I'd like to talk about is a few of the questions and concerns I've recently received in terms of the high school college experience. We'll start off with, and let's just put it out there, our seniors in high school and our seniors in college have been impacted quite a bit. And I don't want to dwell on that, but I do want to make sure that that is out there and that we understand it. There have been some special, significant events that have been taken away from them. Their senior year has been cut short. However, it is important that our high school seniors and our high school college students realize that this semester is important as the previous semesters. We need to graduate. We need to complete assignments, attend Zoom sessions, do what we normally would do, but just in the kind of the luxury of your own bedroom or dining room. The unfortunate piece for all students is no longer having that social component. That gets tricky. Some students, maybe they're having a fine time and it's okay. Other students may be challenged and the emotions are just rising high. They're angry, bitter. Athletes just got ripped of, their sport, their spring sport, etc. So moving forward, we really want to make sure that our seniors see this as an opportunity to show their true character and to do what they need to do, and continue doing that. And after this, this crisis, settles down, there will be an opportunity to celebrate for sure. Students that are concerned about the pass-fail grading scale that a lot of high schools are now leaning towards because they're just having a difficult time trying to figure out how to evaluate and assess assignments, tests, and quizzes. That will not have a negative impact on a transcript. I think that's really important because a lot of students are like, oh my goodness, what's a pass-fail going to do with regard to my overall cumulative GPA? So rest assured, colleges totally get it. There's no reason for you to have to explain your situation because again, it is a national crisis. So With that said, the student that was not performing well, the student that really gave themselves a kick and said, second semester is going to be my semester, and they were killing it. Now we go to pass fail. That I want to bring up because it could have an impact, because it won't be adding value to the GPA, okay? Because you're not going to have a negative impact on a pass fail. This is my recommendation. So if I'm doing well, and I'm going to continue to do well, what I'd like to do is I want to keep record of my grading record, my grading portal. Because when if you're a sophomore or a junior and it's senior year time and we're applying to colleges, you'd like to be able to show some evidence or qualify during that period of time when you were working remotely and you did get a passing grade. I want to show you, college, exactly where I was. So again, it helps you be accountable, and it also shows that you really work to your potential and that you can show them what grade you had. Because if a high school is not using the grading, like grades, and they're using pass fail, the college won't know if you're at a 70% or a 95% or even an 84. So that is a positive takeaway. Another thing is communicating with those amazing teachers and your high school counselor. They are on the front line. They are there. They have been working day and night, trying to incorporate Zoom sessions, trying to just change the classroom situation to a virtual experience. And it is not easy. And I don't want students to let go and let their emotions take over, and because they're angry or if they're sad, to be the excuse of not completing what they need to do, what they need to complete. So communicate. If you have a question, please do that. Okay, that's really a big deal. For juniors and seniors, APs, how crazy is that? A 3-hour exam now being changed to 45 minutes. Okay, maybe I'd pass if I was an AP student. The problem is colleges and universities are not going to know what to do with this grade, because it's a 3-hour test, and now we're going to go to just the essay portion, and there's not going to be a Q&A or a multiple choice section. So chances are you might not be getting credit for these courses. Now, it's for everybody. Okay, this involves every AP student, because a college and university will have a very hard time ethically to provide you an advanced class and give you credit for that class when you weren't in the classroom, X amount of minutes a week with the teacher and learning what you needed to learn based on the full AP curriculum, because it's been modified. So again, you know what? Finish it strong. The grade that you get in the class is one thing. And remember, and I always have to remind my students, your AP grade does not factor into the admissions process. It is a placement component. So juniors who are maybe bummed out about this AP situation, rest assured your grade remains on the transcript. The score will not have any impact on admissions. That's after you get accepted to a college and the college reviews this AP score to see if you can advance in a particular subject area. So again, it's not going to interfere with admissions. That really is a big deal. Freshmen and sophomores, let's go back to juniors. Juniors, who knows what's going to happen next year? Right, Deb? We don't know what the new policies will be. So having Tony as a sophomore parent is ideal, because right now there are a lot of conversations happening in higher ed. I recommend that you try not to take everything as the Bible, the word, because things are changing by the hour, by the day, and even weekly. But the resources that are reliable that will help you get through this would be your teacher and your counselor, the school that your child attends. They are going to be providing email. They're going to be providing progress reports. They're going to be communicating. Tony mentioned he's getting great communication from the high school and the middle school for his children. So thank you, schools, for communicating and being transparent to our parents. Colleges as well. Check those emails. Check the inbox, read your emails, make sure you know what's going on. And remember, they don't even know what they're doing.
Exactly.
They're really trying to say, how can we best support the student? Student, student, student. That is our number one. But oh my goodness, there are so many bullets that we're dodging, and everything happens so quickly. So these abrupt changes with little notice, like students that are in college, you've got 20 to 30 minutes to get your stuff out of your dorm and get out of here. Well, they're just looking out for the student and the safety of their kids, even though you've got parents that are like, yikes, this is not easy. And it isn't. But you know what? We're going to be okay with that. And if the stuff stays in the dorm room, the stuff stays in the dorm room. I mean, whatever. But we want to rely on sources. So communication with our high schools and our colleges. High school kids, pay attention to College Board. Follow them. Follow the ACT website. Make sure that this information that you're hearing is from them, and don't listen to social media or friend groups or people that are not sure, because there's a lot of opinions out there, and there's a lot of conversations, a lot of information that may not be accurate, and then you're going to get yourself worked up when you really shouldn't. Let's wait until it's an official announcement from the company, from the college, from the government, whatever it is. It needs to be the official deal. And I just think that is important. But our freshmen and our sophomores, right now, I think we want to be present. Stay on top of your assignments. Zoom sessions, as I mentioned earlier, it's not optional. Those Zoom sessions are value packed because you get to see somebody, you get a face. There's an opportunity to ask questions. So being current, asking questions is your job. That is your job as a student, so that this semester ends in a way that you're going to be proud of, but you don't want to let go of the handlebars and just say, I'm done. This is just not what I signed up for, because it's not going to add value to this entire process. And I can rest assured that this time shall pass, but we have to be patient. So in terms of that whole college piece, communication, reliable resources, and doing your job. Stick to your 4-year academic plan, high schoolers. In college, you've got your plan, okay? You may be working remotely, a little bit more flexible schedule, waking up at maybe a little bit later time. Debbie's going to touch on that. That's great, but dig in and stay present and do your job. And then my last public service announcement here is, please do your job. For all of us, I can't ask you strongly enough is to, stay at home and do what you need to do, because if we all do our job and only take care of ourselves, we're going to get through this sooner. And honestly, I don't think we can last this remote learning and being, stuck in our home and cooped up in our home for longer than we really want to. 6 months, 8 months, a year, I don't know how we're going to be able to do that, right? So let's just nip it and do our job. And if there are any questions, we are available, that you can just go on Facebook under comments and you can send a question. I'm going to be looking at that while, if there are any, but this really is just an opportunity for us to speak to you, for you to take notes, just to listen. And if you need to reach out to us after this live session, we will have our information available to you. So you can reach out to Debbie or myself. I'm at College Prep Roadmap, and Debbie is Academic Coach B at Gmail, which that'll all be provided in the comment section. So I am going to shift it. And as you all know, we're all pretty clear about this, is that all students are working remotely. This is not easy. And so Debbie Blashaw is here to help us and inspire us. Yay, Debbie! About how we can support our students. So Debbie, thanks again. You're amazing, and please take it away.
I am so happy to have this forum to give my insights into how we learn, and especially remotely. This is an opportunity to learn some strategies and some skills that are going to be necessary. I do believe that this online or remote format is going to be part of a lot of coursework in the future, because there are some advantages. And let me talk about a few advantages of online remote learning. First of all, what a gift. What if we did not have this technology? You are going to be able to continue with your curriculum so that next year, as you move into the next class, you're prepared with what you needed to have here. So this is really a gift. There are so many opportunities to learn online. There are so many curriculums, really robust curriculums with a lot of information. And that's an advantage. All you need to do is seek them out. You can work at your own pace. You know, the students who can get through their math quickly, but trying to figure out what that poem meant might take you a little bit longer, and sometimes class time has to be geared to the average. Everybody can work at their own pace. That's another advantage. And the opportunity to get what you need to prepare you for the following year with everything that Doreen has told you is going to be continuing on. This is a real advantage. All right, let's be real. Let's talk about some of the disadvantages. We have kind of been programmed, you know, kind of think of the Pavlov dog, trained, that our screen time for the most part is about entertainment. It's quick, it could be social media, it might be gaming, but pretty much with the screen time in our digital age, we've used it more for entertainment than we have for learning, for going to school. Yes, you've all had opportunities for some online, but that's has been maybe a small portion of your learning. It's now going to become all of your learning is going to be using this screen. For those of you who are multiply attentive, and you probably rock on your online gaming, etc., because you can pick up a lot of information really quickly, and there's noise and there's visuals and there's something kinesthetic you're doing. So by multiply attentive, I mean ADD, ADHD. I personally think it's a gift, but that's how you have been successful with online. And this is a different way of using online, and it's going to take a different mindset and a different skill set to be able to use the tools that are going to be online effectively for you to learn. With that in mind, there are some strategies that I'm going to highly recommend. They've kind of been out there, but I want you guys to think about it. Students, think about how you learn and when you learn better, and let's put those to use as you tackle the day-to-day lessons. I'm going to give you one more hint. This is not like using online to pick up your assignments for homework. Students that I'm working with that are struggling, they're attacking this as like, oh, I've just got a big homework assignment that I have to get done. This is curriculum that all of your teachers are trying to develop for an everyday attempt to break the information down, give you some reinforcement, and they're trying to figure out ways for you to demonstrate that you've learned that information so that they can fairly grade you, whether it's pass, fail, or not. So you can't attack this like, oh, I've got some homework due tonight by 12 o'clock. I'll sit down at 8 and try to get this done. So strategies. Number one, got to get a schedule. You have a lot of opportunity to be flexible in that schedule. So if you're not a morning person and 8 in the morning is not going to work for you, okay, figure this out. But neither is 8 o'clock at night going to work for you.
Hey, Debbie.
Yes.
Can I ask you a question? Because I don't want to get too far past this particular subject.
Yes.
But now, I don't know how different some of the e-learning programs are going with the different high schools or even grammar schools. But here with my kids, neither one of them, I shouldn't say that. One of my son is a sophomore,
Okay.
and he only has one class that is actually a Zoom class.
Okay.
Okay, so it's only one class where he's seeing the other kids
Yep.
and the particular teacher. Everything else is basically sent to him in an email, and then he does his homework. Okay, and that's it. And then he has deadlines for when the schoolwork has to be in.
Yep.
My daughter, on the other hand, exact same way. There's no interaction with teachers. There's no interaction with the classroom. It is strictly, here's your work, do it, turn it in on this date. And then there's email correspondence. So one of the questions that I have for you, and I want to interject right now just because it's a topic that you're talking about, is creating study habits now because of the way schooling is being done via email versus what they used to have, because they'd be in the classroom all day, they have instruction by the teacher, they have the education by the teacher, you know, there's directions being given by the teacher, and now we don't have that.
Exactly.
So how do they create habits? Because their habits are going to fall apart, because it used to be come home from school, do your studying, you know, take a test the next day or whatever it might be. We don't have that now. Exactly.
And that's such a great question. As teachers, we were trained, and we know some students will learn by reading. They have to see it or it's not going to make sense. Other students do a lot better in comprehension and figuring out what you're saying by what they hear. They have to hear something and maybe see it, but they do better if they hear. That's gone for a lot of it. And, you know, back to get on those Zoom classes, that's gone. And number three, another really important aspect is the kinesthetic, I have to do something with the information in order for it to stick in my head. Because that's not what a lot of this curriculum is. It's pretty much all read this, do this, answer these questions, send that back in. That is going to impact how well people learn, retain, and are able to answer questions, that whole comprehension. Some strategies. If there is not the audio, create your own audio. All computers have a text-to-speech feature. You have to go to settings, and again, I'll put this up on the comments. You have to go to settings, go to accessibility, and click on text-to-speech. Do not click on speak screen. That will speak every icon, and it's for people who are visually impaired. Click on the text to speech. In that, anything you can highlight in a PDF or an email, it can be read to you, and you can even set how fast it'll go. Create that audio to reinforce and to enhance your learning. If for whatever reason the information coming out doesn't have that point in it, that part, then read stuff out loud to yourself that doesn't make sense. Anything that's going online, anything, whether it's a video, whether it's something you have to read, something you have to investigate, take notes on it. Take notes. That's going to begin shifting the mindset of, I just kind of skim through social media and kind of look at what I need to read, and I'll just go to the questions and see if I can get it. If you take the notes, you're doing two things. You're keeping a focus and you're reinforcing the learning. Oh, by the way, and students, if you're listening to this, you'll be able to answer those questions or write that essay a lot quicker because you've got that information in front of you. If they are using online textbooks, which a lot of high schools now, if they haven't gone exclusively to an online textbook, they maybe use the online option and keep the book in class. Many of those have settings where there can be an audio or have a video that goes along with it in the textbook. Look for that, students. Dig into the settings, get that set up. that's going to set up what you are seeing, Tony, and that's such a great question. Getting more of an audio and an interaction going on a very flat screen that is just a visual bunch of words on it that may or may not connect, and it's very tedious staying focused. So you want to enhance the audio, and you want to add note-taking, pausing what you're looking at. If you're listening to the teacher on Zoom, writing it down. One more thing, you've got one class where there is a Zoom opportunity. These teachers are trying to figure out what will work out best. Have your student ask the teacher in each one of the classes, could you designate a time where you'll be online for Zoom, where we can ask questions and get feedback on what we're supposed to be doing in this activity or this exercise? Again, teachers are trying to give out the best information on directions. They need to know, this isn't real clear to me. Can you explain exactly what you need? Just that half an hour of just what we're doing right now could help students who learn in a different, all three of those modalities, hearing, seeing, and doing something with it, that will help them. And oh, by the way, the teachers will get the feedback, need more direction, need more opportunity to hear what you're saying and see what you need. If they can't do it for classes, ask if you can just, if your student can just talk to them individually online. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so that schedule is important. Students, you can break it up, you can figure it out. There is an incredible website that's been around for a long time. You can ask Ms. Moore, their SAT prep and their ACT prep is outstanding. It's the Khan Academy, K-A-H-N, if you haven't heard about it. We're going to put a link on at the end of this segment that we're sharing out with you. Khan Academy has come up with some possible schedules, and they've broken it down into elementary, junior high, high school. Take a look at that. Use your planners and set a plan of action for each day. Remember to put in there nutrition breaks and recess. That's what would be happening in school. They need it. They can't just plow through for 4 hours and expect to be effective in that. You've got to have a beginning and an end of a lesson. Your brain has to kind of reset for a minute. So again, Khan Academy will give you the link to the scheduling piece, but have them set a schedule. Yes, okay, they don't have to get up at 7 o'clock, but there needs to be some morning learning and maybe some afternoon learning. Maybe somebody can work from 9 to 12 with a couple of breaks, but come up with one. Parents, ask them to show you their schedule. Give them some power to create that, what they think will work, but then ask them to be accountable that they're sticking to that schedule. That's a really important piece. Another important piece is to get a place where you can work. I'm seeing a lot of kids online laying on their bed or on their couch trying to work through whatever curriculum's being given to them. Because again, the behavior that they have with screens is set on a couch or on their bed. That's how they've been interfacing. Mm-hmm. They need to have a place where they can sit down, cleared of a lot of clutter if possible, a place to take notes, and a place to change that mindset of, this is a different deal. I've got some learning to do now. And yeah, I can jump on later for social media or a game. That's going to be on my couch. That's going to be on my bed, whatever. Set up a place that their physical body will be in a more focused position and they have the opportunity to write and take notes. That's the next piece. And I kind of touched on it with you, Tony. Whatever you're seeing online, do something with it. Do something. You've got to write to learn. You have to interact with the screen. If you were in a classroom, a teacher would be saying, so Doreen, What did you hear? What makes sense to you? It's that connection and interaction with what's going on. And if there's a question about something you're reading, write that down too. Like, this makes no sense to me, so that you can connect with your teacher and get the information you need to clarify what's going on. And maybe that'll be in a Zoom session, and maybe she'll just email it back. Wherever you get that information, write that in, maybe in another color. That will help you when you have to take some of these tests. And again, schools are figuring out how to do this. A lot of times they're sending emails to the parents. They have a certain amount of time. They click on this link at this particular time. Final, in this schedule, don't just write all the assignments in. Write down the times you are required to be online or in an online session. A lot of times we forget appointments. If you write it down and it's in front of you, you are going to see on Tuesday at 1 o'clock, I need to check into this online class with my teacher. You don't want to forget that. Doreen said, it's important. Make those appointments. Students, your teachers will be evaluating you on whether you show up or not. And yes, there's a learning curve, but if you never show up or you're always late, that's gonna make a difference. And finally, and again, Doreen touched on this. If you look in the world today, everyone in business and health, etc., they've had to do a pivot. How are we going to handle this? They've had to dig in, go to resources remotely in order to help the world deal with this pandemic. These skills that you're going to learn right now, you've got to do a pivot from the way you usually use your online, your remote learning for gaming and or, oh, this is where I just get my assignments for homework. You're doing a pivot. You're learning new skills. You're problem solving. Hopefully you're giving your teachers some input so that they can be better on it. And that's how we're all going to get through this. This is an opportunity for everyone to learn skills that are going to be critical in the workplace, in their education, in their lives. Those are the people we're counting on. I've always admired John Wooden, and he has a great quote. And what he said is, the true test of a man's character is what he does when no one is watching. I'm going to encourage you to dig in. I'm going to email me. You go, this is what I have to do. Any ideas? All of us are trying to be here for each other. I can't go down to the hospitals and help people who are not feeling well, but I can help you guys with some strategies for learning. That's why Doreen's on. Tony, we're so glad you're here. You've got questions that maybe we're not thinking of. But if we all jump in, and as Doreen said, do your best, and don't worry so much about how this is going to be evaluated. I've got to learn this so that I can be that next generation of leaders that we can see today are helping us get through that. That's what you guys are going to be in the near future. And these crises come up. We need you to take this opportunity to learn those skills and reach out if you need some strategies on how to get it done.
Bravo. Yes.
Okay. Well, since you guys have both explained a lot about what
Thank you,
guys are
Debbie.
doing,
You bet.
That was
I do have a couple of
on.
different questions. Doreen, I guess one of the questions I have, you talked a lot about how the crisis right now in society is affecting the juniors and the seniors. How is that going to affect sophomores becoming juniors? Is there, I mean, a lot of the things that are being instituted right now for the juniors and the seniors, is that going to roll over in the next year? Do you see that rolling over into fall or early fall going into winter? What's going to happen there?
Great question. Yes, and I did say that a good majority of the current situation has had an impact on juniors and seniors. And the only reason is time, because there's time-sensitive events, SAT, ACT testing that juniors would like to, at least take once, one when they're junior, and those have all been eliminated. So freshmen and sophomore, they are impacted. So I hope I didn't dismiss them. However, the level of impact, I personally feel is a little bit more reduced, but your question is excellent. And right now, I know that the colleges, the universities, the testing companies are scrambling to best advocate, support the student. So Debbie touched on it in terms of the colleges and the universities are going to be aware of this situation. So it is a very fluid conversation, and there are changes and modifications. I mean, 2 years ago, would you ever think an AP test, that grueling, gnarly AP test for 3 hours, was going to be modified to 45 minutes? So right now they are looking at the fall of 2020-2021 school year. And there are going to be a lot of adjustments. So current juniors, and I'll get to sophomores, current juniors, there's going to be some wiggle room, okay? There will be some leniency and some fluidity to what is going to be expected. There is a ton of schools that are going test optional for next year seniors, and also eliminating that requirement completely. So for your son, who's a sophomore rising junior, my advice to you is to pay attention to what's going to happen to next year's seniors, because what happens is the colleges and universities are making all these changes and these shifts for our current juniors. When they're seniors, they're not going to go back to what they did 100%. There will be some things that they may keep as a policy or as a new requirement for a couple years. So your son, who's a sophomore, may be in that group of students. So very important to number one, keep on track, do exactly what he is doing, stay the course, but be aware of next year's seniors in terms of what requirements will be required for the college application process, and if testing will be an option or not. And that is keeping in tight communication with your school, your son's school, and his counselor, because they're on the front line and they'll be getting information as well. So again, I do think if I had to put my money on it, and I'm not one to gamble, I would say that our current juniors and our current sophomores will have some leniency and some room to kind of some changes in the favor of the student. Okay. So as a parent, you're doing a great job just by being here and by having questions, and also looking to the future. Like, what can I do now as a sophomore parent to help my son, not only junior year, but senior year? And that is keeping an open mind and communicating with the school and the counselor, getting the help that's reliable and up to date, and not listening to people that think they know it. Maybe they have it's heart-centered, but they don't know what they're talking about, because that just gets people in a spinning situation. So, and then going back to testing, let's just say, as an example, your son starts to look at some schools and they have changed the policy in terms of testing, and they say, you know what, no longer required. That would be a time where you can say, good, okay, son, you don't have to worry about it, or keep prepping and take it anyway. Because if he does take it and does well and he wants to show it, it's not going to have a negative impact, but it could be something that could get him over the fence, depending on the score. But just kind of keeping present, do what he normally would do. But when it comes to the evaluation of the application, there will be some changes for sure. So thank you very much for bringing that. That's a great question.
So let me ask you this. Let's get off of the crisis situation that we're in and get into, I have some basic questions that I think anybody would ask. Okay. Should, when applying for different colleges, should my son or anyone's kids apply only to colleges that have areas of interest that they might want to study? Or should they apply to as many colleges as they can, because the number of kids going into college is so huge that it's harder to get in? What are your thoughts on that?
Good question, Debbie. We're probably both like, oh, we've heard that a million times. Okay.
Yeah.
So when you're doing the research process and you're trying to identify what is going to be a match and a fit for your child, the number one thing would be cost. Let's just put it out there, budget. Number two, major. So are we going to apply to 30 schools just because the competition's stiff and the chances of getting into some of these schools are like slim? No, because when you get accepted to the school is not going to change your interest in your major. You go in and you study exactly what you want to study. Now, if you get there and after a year, you're like, yikes, I thought I wanted to be an engineer and there's no way in heck I'm going to get through this program, or my interests have changed. Well, you can pivot and you can make a change, but you are not going to change because the college or university does not offer your major. Many times students have a mindset that they need to graduate from X university. Okay, I need to be a warrior, or I need to be a Bruin or a Trojan. I have to be it no matter what. Oh, but they don't offer your major. It doesn't matter. I'm going anyway. It will matter. It will matter, and it'll definitely change the course of what that student will do over the next 4 years. And if they change their major, it could be 5 years. So now it's money and time. So cost and major are two top priorities, right, Deb?
Yeah.
That we can guide our students. We don't want to waste time and money. And especially right now with what we're going through, it's going to be more sensitive in the next year or two. And there will be, we won't go there, less money. I mean, it's just, there's going to be a financial strain on people and schools. So we don't want to take a chance of just applying just to apply to say, guess what, I got accepted to 25 schools and they don't have my major, or only 5 have my major. Does that help?
Yeah.
And how interesting would be if they use this time to use some of the online to figure out what's interesting to them. What does a veterinarian do every day? What kind of coursework? That's something I've always been interested in. We see the tremendous impact of the medical field, if that's always been interesting. And we hear about different specialties. So this would be a great time to start looking into that and finding out which universities have that, and kind of focus in on those. So yeah, spot on,
Absolutely.
Doreen. And this is they've got time. Maybe that could be one of their goals that they could schedule in, do some research on different careers that they think they might be interested in. A lot of times I think they're focused on the colleges that have sweatshirts, as opposed to this is a stepping stone of what I want to do in the future. Oh, like, what do I want to do? And it's clear they need to start thinking about that.
And Tony, that was one thing I did. I posted this same topic on College Prep Roadmap about you've got time. So students, I know it's a bummer, but let's use it wisely and invest in getting to know these schools, these colleges. And I actually listed a few links to various career college research, like search engines, so they can go take a peek at it. So again, Debbie, it's time. It's like, let's use your time wisely, use it productively. And you know what, before you know it, you're going to have all this great information, and all of this pandemic's going to be lifted. And then we're just going to be moving on, and it's business as usual, but you're ahead of the game because you've taken this time to invest in yourself. So I think did that answer your question?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. I think you guys answered most of my questions. Probably the only thing we didn't talk about was getting into financials, the financial aid situation, scholarships, what different types of programs are out there. I guess one of my questions would be, do all the different colleges have different types of programs that they offer from a financial aid standpoint, or from a merit or a scholarship style program? Do they all have different types of programs that they offer?
Well, I can guarantee that Debbie and I are very well aware of this with 4 kids of our own. grown children and have all gone through this college application
Yeah.
and tuition process. It's like, right? So good question. And again, the first thing I mentioned when you're looking at a school is a family to be able to have this conversation, the real conversation at the kitchen table, in the car, about cost. It's like, and parents, don't be ashamed. This is what we have, and this is what we can do. And then the rest we'll need to figure out in terms of you, student, figuring out how you can pay for the other portion. Okay, so it's a perfect question. And when we worked together, Deb and I worked together, the beginning of sophomore year was the year that we would remind our parents as early as sophomore year. Probably could have even rolled it back to freshman parents, but they were still just adjusting to the high school. And that whole process was finding out where you are financially and what is available in terms of need-based, like I need some assistance, versus merit academic based. So I'm going to bring up two things and not go into too much detail. I don't want to confuse you or overwhelm you. But in terms of scholarships is really based on performance. It's academic performance. My son or daughter has a blank GPA. My son or daughter has done this, and they now meet the eligibility requirements to apply to a particular scholarship. And this scholarship has to do with a certain particular criteria. And it could be a 3.5 GPA, weighted or unweighted or higher. So it really kind of, the vetting process is pretty clear, maybe even an essay. So that's academic, okay? Now, when you say need-based, what we did when Debbie and I worked together, the school that we worked at, which was an amazing school, by the way. No, I'm not going to plug it, but we really rocked it. We encouraged every one of our parents to complete a free application for federal student aid, which is the acronym FAFSA, whatever. Okay, so that is done your senior year. Can't do it any sooner. It starts senior year, and it's a parent and a student that fills out this application. It is free. From beginning to end, over the years, they've modified it. They've made it nice and simple. Literally a 45-minute process. It used to be a lot longer, right, Debbie? I know. And this is something that high schools will encourage parents to fill out. This application is asking the federal government to assess your financials to see if there's any aid, need-based aid that they could offer. And there's different programs. There could be loans at a very low interest rate. There could be a work study program where your student has been offered an opportunity to work on campus, and that the money that he or she has earned will be applied towards the education, tuition, cost of attendance. And then also free money, which is the most amazing thing to hear. Free money, not easy, and you have to be eligible. Okay, but we always recommend that our families senior year to complete the FAFSA. And the only reason why it's a big deal, even for families with two incomes, which they probably won't meet those requirements, is because over time, there are some academic merit scholarships. So now we're talking about we shifted now, that require the FAFSA to be on file. So you go, well, that FAFSA has to do with need-based. Why would I fill it out if my child is looking for a scholarship, which is GPA-based, academic-based? Because colleges want to see that on file so the student can be considered. So it is a win-win. So for you, sophomore year, it's important that you know the beginning of your son's senior year, you will fill out a FAFSA. And every year you have to renew it. You've got to do that over the 4 years of that. And that is looking for an opportunity for need-based money, but it also could be a requirement for academic money. Now for scholarships, it's an ongoing thing. Now, Deb, I don't remember too many freshman and sophomore scholarships. Typically it starts junior year. And then of course it just the trajectory goes up senior year. There's scholarships all over. Deb, do you remember of any freshman and sophomore year scholarships that are out there? I'm not.
But, you're talking about scholarship. There's certainly scholarships for academics. There's also, working on your physical, and there's always the sports, but also specifics. I'm a single parent. a single parent, that there's a certain amount of money that's available, that someone has granted a scholarship for a child with a single parent, kids sometimes with disabilities, kids with particular interest. So if they, as a freshman or sophomore, you know, are in service of some kind, and there are opportunities for kids online right now to be of service and support to each other, where they're looking for certain criteria. So that's what I'm encourage freshmen, sophomore, juniors. Who are you? What matters to you? And how can you make a difference in the world? Again, this time, as tough as it is, we're seeing that's the truth of it. So, and even in private universities, yes, it's a huge amount of money, but they know it's a huge amount of money. So there are more opportunities for those scholarship type monies, financial aid that will come in. So just what Doreen said, money and interest, figure out what your interest is, figure out what the school is, and then meet those deadlines. Side students, meet deadlines here, learn how to meet deadlines here. That's going to help you meet deadlines in the future. Right. Meet the deadline, be that first one in to apply for that scholarship for a particular interest. And that can really make a difference. And, you know, I think all of three of my sons who went to several different universities were able to tap in to different interest, specific population group focus to help them and help us and help me with financial aid. So
okay, I have a question for that I think both of you could probably get into and probably enjoy. So because I think you say you're a education coach, right, or an academic coach,
right?
I know that Doreen was a counselor and now has the college prep roadmap. So
I'm a teacher too. I'm a credentialed teacher, so I have both.
Okay, so you're gonna love this question.
Oh boy, here we go.
This is definitely a tester for you guys.
Okay.
So, you know, you had earlier on said kids basically used the internet for social or playing games, doing that kind of thing, less about the whole learning, right? Okay, so here's my question. There's a lot of social influence online, correct?
Yes.
Different people. I mean, people that you and I as adults follow, people that our kids are now following that are similar, very popular marketing people, okay? A lot of these people are saying that moving forward, college is a waste of time. It's a waste of resources and money because you can get a tremendous amount of education online. You can get a tremendous amount of education because our world is going digital, right? Everything is going towards a digital age. So when your kids who are smart kids, I mean, they're sophomores, juniors, seniors, they're smart kids, they're not stupid kids. They're seeing all this influence. They're seeing all this conversation. They're seeing it by professionals, some of them that went to college, some of them that dropped out of college. As a counselor, as a coach, a student comes to you and asks you those questions like I am right now. Why should my parents spend the money? Why should I have college debt? Why should I do all of these things if these people that are supposed to be the leaders out there in our world are telling us that financially it's the mistake to make? What would you say to them? I mean, why is it better to go to school versus not, or just to become an influencer, you know, things of that nature online?
Okay, I'll jump in on that one just for the college component. And I totally agree, Tony. I mean, I listen to podcasts and I love some of these social influencers just as a kind of a support system for me, good content and all that. So this is how I see it. And again, I'm going to lean towards the formal education. I'm not going to lean towards big debt because there are opportunities to get a degree and really and keep that price tag down. Okay, that's number one. But there are many careers that require a formal education. So I don't think high school students ages 14 to 18 really are mature enough and have the mindset to know what they want to do, because I know when I was in high school, I wanted to do about 10 different things, right? And if the child is enamored by an influencer or how much money they make and all that, that's natural. I mean, you know, every kid wants, you know, that new next iPhone or whatever. But as a parent, I think it's our job, and as high school teachers and counselors, administrators, is to keep reinforcing, explore who you are. Figure this out. If you want to be an influencer, you can do two things. You can be, you know, taking online classes in the influencering world, but the formal education, if I want to be a nurse, well, that's not going to cut it. If I'm going to be an engineer, if I want to be in law, medicine, you know, all of those need a formal education. If I want to be a teacher. So knowing your students investing time in themselves and really making sure, but at a young age, it's like asking an 8th grader what high school you want to go to. Well, they don't know. Why would we let a 13 or 14-year-old make this decision when, as a parent, we're 10,000 feet up looking down? But if a student goes to college and let's say starts at a community college, fabulous education, affordable, can live at home, the price tag is down. Spending the time, is this really the path that I want to go down? Or is, you know, social media, an influencer, all of those different types of people, which are, by the way, fascinating. Is that my route? Is that the path I want to do? But give it more time. And I wouldn't make that decision immediately. I would go through the college application process and even consider a gap year where you apply to college, you have a reserved spot there, and you get a year to go maybe sort things out. There's a lot of kids that are doing that because the intensity of the college application process, they're overwhelmed. So after senior year, they're like, I need a year off. I want to go travel. I want to get a job. I'm going to go volunteer. I just want to be like, kind of do not my, you know, do whatever I want to do. And then I'll jump back on and then, you know, start my college a year later. But I do believe there are skill sets, connections, relationships with universities, the Career Center that has all these connections that will only support your student, but it doesn't work for everyone. It truly doesn't. So it has to be a decision, a family decision based on a process, not just a quick, I love, you know, Tony Robbins. And, you know, I want to be the next Tony Robbins. Well, I love Tony Robbins personally. I think he's amazing. I listen to him and I'm ready to like, just, you know, walk on fire.
Yeah.
He helps so many people, but that's my take on it, coming from the college application or the college counseling side of it and seeing all the value. But again, it's not for everyone.
Do you guys,
I rambled.
Do you guys think,
Debbie was going to comment.
Is there a difference between, like,
I found this.
Hold on,
Is there a difference between?
My Siri went off. Hold on, sorry. It was answering the question for you guys.
Oh, good. See?
Yeah. Jumped right on, ready to answer the question. No, I was wondering, you know, there's a lot of different types of educational programs out there. You've got your, you know, your 4-year schools, you've got kids that go to junior college before they go to 4-year, and then tech schools.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and there's a lot of tech schools coming up that are all computer generated, you know, learning how to, you know, how to use the computer, how to use the internet, how to be an influencer. I mean, is there, in your opinion, because I know everybody has obviously their own idea or own opinion of what it means to go to school, do you feel like it's better for them to go to a 4-year full-blown college, they're going to go to Ohio State, or if they choose to, they know they want to be in computers some way, should they just go to a tech school to learn what they want to do?
Right. And I, first of all, I'm going to piggyback on what Doreen said. It's know yourself. And perhaps we haven't been doing that good of a job of asking kids, you know, we kind of, let's try this. Know yourself. And you know what? Not everybody does need to go to a 4-year university. unfortunately in high school, what I see, getting into college is not the end game. It's a stepping stone.
Yep.
So
Yep.
the importance, I think, would be, what are you interested in? So you are really involved with technical, computer, online. Tony, I'm going to tell you right now, because everybody's on Zoom and doing so many things digitally online, that is going to be huge. And you're a professional. There's not one industry where you don't have to have an online presence. What is it that your student is showing, this is interesting to me? There's a certain type of kid who can really sit and work with math and figure out how to challenge different math problems and think about it differently. That's a skill set that they were given, that they enjoy it. It's something they really get into. And other people, that's not what I need to do. And if I had to sit in one place all day, I drive myself crazy. And yes, we need programmers. And yes, we need people to set up digital environments and firewalls. And my sweet Lord, right now, how critical medical staff is and how many different aspects of that there are. So the important thing is, through their education and through their life experiences and through their volunteering and through what you see as a parent, like, do you know what? You are really good at teaching other kids how to play basketball. Like, you were able to teach that kid how to make a free throw shot, and his coaches have been working on it for years. You'll see different skills and enhance that. And that's what's going to be important. I was working in a junior high class. I asked the class, so where do you see yourself in the future? I would say 2/3 of that class said, I'm going to be a Facebook social influencer and I'm going to make some money.
Yep.
Just like if your bottom line is, I want to go to UCLA, that's not a great mindset. Could be, but that's not your whole deal. My whole goal is to go to UCLA. No, your whole goal is to be whatever. I'm going to be a social influencer. You have to have some skills, some knowledge in order to be of use that people would be interested in. And that's where the training has to come in. And it'll be a 4-year university for a lot of this. If you want to be a musician, okay, I'm happy you can play the guitar. You got to get your repertoire out there. You've got to create, you've got to connect with other people. And that could very well be in a university, might not. I love doing hair and makeup. Okay, that's fun and you're pretty good at it. You need to get some training. There's FIDM, Fashion Institute of Design.
Yep.
Then you need to go there. And those are the things that they can be thinking about, learning about, seeing what can go on. And yeah, dig into some online classes. Connect with someone who's doing what it is you think you want to do and ask them, if you were going to go into this career now, what would you do? Where would you go to get the training that you need?
Debbie, you brought something up and it's like something that they're interested in, something they've explored. And let's say the hairdresser, makeup artist.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You go to FIDM and all that. You're also going to get classes in business, because I've talked to a lot of parents which I thought was really cool. They've kind of revealed that they went into a particular area, career area, and opened up their own business, but never took business courses. And then they start to realize, while they were in their craft, their career, they were like, yikes, okay, I need to go back and figure out the accounting, because I don't want to let so-and-so, I need to maybe hire someone to do it, but I need the knowledge. So I've got to figure it out. So even if it's part-time classes, like you said, take a couple online classes, do this exploring, but knowing that it's not just a one-size-fits-all. There's just so many different levels, and getting to know who you are, that's where it starts.
And you're talking to Tony, because Doreen has done her coursework to learn about counseling. I've done my coursework to learn about teaching and counseling. And Yes, I've done a lot of online and gone to a lot of seminars to like figure out different ways kids learn and how to help them figure that out. So you have to have some background behind you if you're going to influence. So
for credibility,
yeah.
to qualify what you've done. No, I 100% agree. I think we have a question here. We do have a question.
Great.
So Debbie, it is for you.
Okay.
I have two screens, so I'm going to have to come over here. If the student is an auditory or kinesthetic learner, how can the parent help? How would that parent help?
Okay, and that's where most students are going to be struggling with remote learning. It's going to be because it's all visual and that's not their strength. So a couple things that I had said before, look at your computer settings and look at the settings within programs or textbooks to see if you can get the audio component. Ask your teacher if there's a time during the day that they could be online to ask some questions. And if all of those are not working, have the student read it out loud. Have the question for a parent might be, so tell me what you think they're asking you. If they're saying, Mom, I don't get that, say, I understand, read it out loud to yourself. You can create the audio for you if you have to. Read what the instructions or the questions are out loud. That will force you to focus and for your brain to be able to hear it and use the way your brain works to figure things out because you heard it auditorially, and that connection makes more sense if you hear it than if you just see it. So create the audio and create the kinesthetic. Draw a picture of that math problem. Draw a picture of that concept. So what do you think that means? If you had to put it into a symbol, make a picture of it. Take notes, write down. If you're reading a book online or you're reading every 2 pages or every time there's a bolded excerpt, just summarize what it said briefly. It doesn't have to be a perfect sentence, can just be a phrase, but interact with that both auditorially and by writing something down. And if possible, if you're working with your students, so tell me what you just read. Tell me if it makes sense to you. Asking for that audio feedback. And if there's specific, my email will be there. I'm happy to answer specific questions. If you want to say, this is what the curriculum looks like, how would you suggest I do that? Just let me know. We can come up with some ideas. Okay?
Good, thank you. And we'll be sure to make sure that in the comments, we'll have our contact information if there's any future questions. I know a lot of people are going to be looking at this as a recording.
Yes.
Everybody, I mean, most people that are working from home or parents are helping students with, you know, remote learning. So this will be posted to, will be available on College Prep Roadmap, and then we'll all share it to our page. So if anybody's out there and just wants information and wants to take notes on what we talked about, that's basically what this this segment's all about.
Are there any questions coming in for me?
You know what? Unfortunately, Tony, there aren't any.
Okay, I have a question. I
double checked.
That little statuary in the back. Where did you get it? You got some cool stuff going on behind you.
I'm looking at the San Francisco helmet.
Yeah, that's nice too. Yeah, that's
so funny.
You still have California roots.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think I think that we covered a lot of great topics. I think, Tony, I can't thank you enough for your questions, because these are real-time questions. You're a sophomore parent. You're not just a made-up person that we just asked to join us. And Debbie's insight in terms of learning strategies is you know, off the wall. I've always respected and inspired by how she can evaluate a student and provide specific learning strategies for that particular student, and even in general, just so that's a big deal. I know that parents are, you know, they need support. So we're here for students, but more importantly, we're here for parents. College Prep Roadmap, Academic Coach B at gmail.com, Debbie Blashaw. We are here for the entire whole student. It's not just how can I get your kid into college, how you can beef up your resume, or how you can get that C grade to an A. That's all super. Those are all small components. But the big picture is supporting and respecting the whole student while they travel through this 4-year process. And even in middle school, from let's say 7th grade, because first to 6th, they're still trying to sort it out. What is that experience? And building a foundation that is solid and providing resources to give them the time as students to figure out what they want to do. It's about them, but parents, we're here for you too. Excuse me.
That's why the 2 Ds have always worked so well together, Doreen.
It's the Debbie and Doreen show. We've always said that. And now that we're on our own independently, still wanting to help, it really is. This is super. I appreciate it. I appreciate it more than you probably even know. I get to see your face and I get to see Tony. But I think if there isn't any other questions, which there aren't, and I think we've covered what we wanted to cover, then we are good to go. And just last, everybody wash your hands.
Yeah.
And thank you for everybody on the front lines. I mean, geez.
Yes. And Doreen, thank you for providing this forum through your website. Thank you very much. It allows us to reach out to, and so thank you.
And yeah, and we are going to move forward and talk about other segments in terms of what's important to the community and reaching out and providing information so that you can, parents, best support your student, and students, you have a better understanding of what the heck to do and when to do it. So, okay, guys, well, have a great day, everyone. We're going to sign off, and thank you very much. Yeah, and go wash your hands. Okay, thanks, Tony.
Yep, bye.
Let's just log off here. Ending.